I would never stick my hand in there.
Yeah, it ain't no telling what's in your head, huh?
That's like a future dish in there.
Yeah, but when I first saw you up against Uncle Steve, I thought you looked like Uncle Steve. I mean, I thought Uncle Steve was your son.
That was a question. Well, I don't know if it really is. Where's everybody from?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania?
Baton Rouge and Arkansas.
Baton Rouge and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're all around. We're kind of local. Pennsylvania is a little ways.
Yeah, not quite local.
You guys just had a lot of rain down there.
Yeah, we got you.
Thank you.
Put our feet together.
Put your foot on my butt. That's great.
It's like that. It's a seat. Be thankful.
We're going to be leg extensions.
Oh, yeah.
Getting ready to go fast here. Now watch your hats. Yeah.
Oh.
They're probably going to fly.
Not yours. He's got a jean strap.
All right, y'all ready?
Yep.
Yeah, but this is man-made. This river we're going down right now, they dug it up to build the levee here. And you can follow it all the way. It becomes the Intercoastal Canal. It goes through Morgan City, crosses through the Chafalaya River, and you go all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. That little guy that just flew from there,
Yeah.
that's a snowy egret. I don't know if you guys noticed they had yellow feet.
Yeah.
Sometimes they use those feet as a lure in some grass to attract fish.
Wow.
So right here is probably using the current.
That's quite a current right now.
I know it is.
Yeah, it is. About 10 miles upriver, you'd reach the Chafalaya, which is being fed by the Mississippi. So all that snow and rain we're getting up north in Ohio and Arkansas, everywhere, all those tributaries going to the Mississippi, that's all coming down here. We're receiving a lot of that water. That's why we're, part of the reason why we're flooded. Yeah. This is like the 4th highest ever that we've ever had. Yeah. And have you guys ever heard of the Chafalaya Basin?
Sure.
Some of you locals, most of you, I guess. But it's pretty large. It's about 150 miles long, 20 to 30 miles wide, depending on where you are. And it contains the largest contiguous forested wetland in North America. Now, it used to be part of something much larger, the whole Mississippi floodplain. Much of that was cypress swamps that we're going to be going through today. There's a time you can go by swamp all the way to Missouri. And they left this portion here is basically like a big bathtub. Swamp, marsh, and bottom and hardwood forest to relieve pressure from the Mississippi River levees. So this is protecting Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Morgan City, all the towns and cities along the river.
So is this river here?
Yeah, this is called Bayou Tall.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
nice.
so that runs to the Chafalaya River.
Right.
The Chafalaya River is large. You can see it. It's pretty impressive.
Right.
Where we launched at is probably like 40, 50 foot deep. Here it's similar to the sands. Once we get through the swamp, it'll be about 12, 13 feet deep.
Wow, 40, 50 foot. I would have never thought that.
Not realize.
40 feet.
Look at this water
very many knees.
So now we're starting to see mainly cypress trees. They're all cypress here on our right. These trees are about over 100 years old. So imagine how old this tree might be.
Wow.
You know, if I had to guess, and I'd say at least 1,000 years old. It could be much older than that.
Wow.
Now I couldn't tell you for sure because this tree is hollow inside,
Right.
so there's no core. You can't count the rings.
Wow.
And unfortunately, every old growth we have left, like this one here, they've all been cut down except for the hollow ones because they couldn't use it for lumber. Yeah. Yeah. So the logging took place around the 1870s all the way through the 1930s, and these are the trees that grew back, and this is the one they left behind. And, so there's a few select old growth trees left, but all the stands have been logged. There's none left.
Let's save
Thank God we got that paddle.
Cypress trees aren't all hollow.
They're not all hollow, no. It's just
The old ones.
The ones that were solid, they've been logged. Couple branches here, careful. Watch your left.
Watch your right.
That's a cool looking tree.
Oh, that
Look
is
at the
cool.
face on that.
So a lot of the trees that are hollow now, they've been struck by lightning. I mean, over a course of 1,000 years, imagine how many storms and hurricanes and all that they've seen. Just imagine, you're standing in your yard for 1,000 years. Eventually, something's gonna happen to you.
Yeah.
Especially here in Louisiana. There's a baby alligator. Teeny tiny guy. Where you see it? On the lower.
On the other side.
Where is it?
Oh, I see him. He's like brown, right?
That means there's a mom.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, maybe he's just an independent.
I don't know.
Stay in the boat, Brianna.
Brianna, take a picture of this. You can get it.
Yeah,
The log.
the last picture.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see now. Yeah.
We need a before and after. So.
See where this
Doesn't need to
was?
happen.
Oh, he is a little guy.
Oh, the log is
Can you see him?
Yeah.
Do you fish in here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's good fishing here, yeah. Right now it's not too good because the water's so high, all the fish are spread out. But once the water goes down, they all concentrate into the deeper channels. That's the best time to come fishing.
What do you fish for?
A bass, crappie, different species of brown, catfish, and I was fish part-time for crawfish, commercially.
How's the crawfish season so far?
It's not too bad. It's hard to find right now because the water's cold, especially on this side, so they're not moving and they're not feeding. So hopefully the price will stick with how much we're catching. Maybe what? 2 feet, maybe? Something like that. So when they're young, they grow about a foot a year, so he's maybe 2 or 3 years old. Now the babies, well, the mothers, they'll leave the babies, about after a year or so, and then the siblings will tend to stick together.
Right.
And then after a while, they start, being more solitary and they go off on their own.
Wow. So he's just hanging out.
Hey, sunning himself.
Enjoying the sun.
What's the biggest alligator you've ever seen?
It was bigger than 15 feet. I know that. Yeah. Yeah, it was, I don't know, I really don't know how big it was. I only saw the head, and it was at night. It was with my buddy. We were in the Chapala River. We're fishing on the bank. It was on a sandbar. And with the spotlight, you could see the red eyes, and you could see the whole head, of course. And the inches between the eyes and the nose is how many feet long the alligator is.
Oh.
An estimation. Yeah, so it was something like this.
Whoa.
So, I don't know.
Whoa.
Bigger than 15 feet.
That's interesting.
That's cute. I'm glad we saw a baby one like
Yeah.
This is my house.
that. Baby alligator.
That's it. I'm going to get one of them. All these years That's a pretty big cherry.
Yeah. Look at that one.
See all the woodpecker holes. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, wow. Those are some serious wood.
Home sweet home.
We're going to be seeing a lot of this Spanish moss hanging around. But it grows a little flower. So it's not actually a moss. Mosses don't grow flowers. So it's a bromeliad. They're related to the pineapple. And it's not Spanish either, so. Neither one of those things. That's its name though. They call it Spanish moss. Now, they used to use this to stuff mattresses and car seats and furniture, plastering in the walls. Let's see. It's here somewhere. Yeah, this is what it would look like. When it dies, it just turns black like this. If you guys visit any plantation homes or anything like that, you may see that in some of the furniture.
It looks like the color of your beard.
Yeah, I shaved this morning. My beard is down here.
It looks like beard hair.
Oh man.
Doesn't it?
Wow, that's something.
You know, they named it after a beard. Actually,
See?
the myth is when the Spanish conquistadors came here, they unlogged gray beards, and so the moss looked like moss, and it looked like Spanish beard. So, and believe it or not, my mom and dad, they're from Spain. So,
So it is your beard.
so it is my beard. After all. They're like, oh, get in his way.
Okay, we're done with it now.
Now you did say you shaved.
I think I just won't go there now.
Yeah, I wanted to stop here and talk about my beard. Just kidding. Talk about the swamp a bit so you guys understand what we're looking at and also what we're not seeing. So a lot of things are underwater right now. So the bases of the trees, they get real wide. They call it the buttress. The roots of the cypress, they come up out of the ground, some of them 12, 15 foot tall, and everything's underwater now. There's about 13 foot of water under us right now. So they call them cypress knees. You know, these roots, they'll grow up to 200 feet away from the mother tree. It's a very spread out root system, and that's what anchors them in the forest. So say a hurricane comes, that anchor is holding this entire forest down. This is very difficult to knock down these trees. That's why they live for so long. They're flexible, and they have a good understanding, is what I like to say. So this will all become dry. You'd actually be able to walk through this forest part of the year. So this will normally be between August and February, and of course that'll vary from year to year. And now I say dry, but you know, there's places you'd walk and you may sink in mud from your knee maybe up to your waist. But in the forest, if it's dry and the leaves fall and make a thick layer, it'd be like a sponge, and we could walk through just the way you guys are now, and you wouldn't sink through. It'd be spongy. It's actually a cool feeling. But yeah, so when it becomes dry like that, we get lots of mammals that start coming out, and lots of people that go hunting. So as we go, you may see some signs that's posted. A lot of these lands are leased for hunting clubs whenever it's dry. So over 50% of the basin is privately owned. So it's not protected. And we'll talk about that later So they'll come out here, they'll hunt deer, they'll hunt hogs, squirrels, rabbits, raccoons, armadillos. Well, maybe not armadillos, but I do hear it tastes good. It tastes like pork. I've never tried it. But, anyway, we do have those guys too. We have possums and minks. Nutria. You guys know what nutria are? It's like a beaver with a rat tail.
Right.
That's pretty much what it is. Yeah. Or muskrat. You know what a muskrat is? It's just a bigger muskrat. They're actually an invasive. They brought them here from Argentina. Now for the fur trade years ago, and it went out of style, and now we have nutria all over the place. It's a big problem, as well as the hogs. We also get foxes, and we get Louisiana black bear in places as well. Now the question is where are they now?
Oh, right.
At 13 foot of water, where do they go? So some of them may climb the trees. Now, if you break your necks a little bit, there's a nest above you guys. You see that?
Yeah.
That's a squirrel nest. So we're gonna see lots of those as we go. And the raccoons, they use the trees. The Louisiana black bear, they'll use the inside of these big hollow trees sometimes and put their cubs in there and use it as a like a little den for them to keep them safe. And eventually, so some will go up the trees and some can't climb. So hogs, deer, armadillos. Where do you guys think they go?
Into town.
Into town? Okay. So maybe they may end up in town, so looking for dry land, of course. Now, many of them stay within the basin. There is some dry land within these levee systems. So it could be old river banks. It could be canals where they dug it up and had spoil banks. Some years they have to go through the levees. Like in 2011, we had a big flood. I don't know if you guys can see that mark on that little tree.
Yeah.
Where the
moss
like a
is.
painted white,
Yeah,
the lichen starts to grow.
Right.
That was a watermark. That's how high the water got in 2011. So imagine, just the boat landing, how high it was now. 4 or 5 feet higher than what it is now. Yeah, so a lot of mammals, they drowned that year. Some of them, they made it to the levees. It was just a lot of deer and hogs and wildlife on the levees that year. They had no place to go. So with water, of course, comes a lot of fish. So we're talking about a little bit, Louisiana is called Sportsman's Paradise. We have over 100 species of fish here. And right now, I was saying before that this isn't very good fishing because the water's so high. The fish are all spread out into the swamps. Once that water goes down, start drying out, you go to the deeper channels, and you can catch lots of fish during that time. So around August or so. And have you guys tried crawfish? Have you eaten boiled crawfish? Okay. Yeah. So if you haven't, you need to get your hands on some. So those guys, a lot of it, they come out of here, the Chafalaya Basin. This is the most productive wetland in the world for crawfish. But part of the year they go out of season because they go underground. Once this all dries up, they go under, called mud bugs for that reason. And once they come up out of the ground, they come up millions, billions, trillions, maybe more than that. And it becomes the main diet of the swamps of the fish, the birds, reptiles, amphibians, me, some of you guys maybe. We have frogs, big frogs like that called bullfrogs, with legs like that. They swallow crawfish entirely. Oh, it's pretty impressive. You can feel 2 or 3 in their stomachs. Yeah, claws and everything. Yeah.
Oh, there's some pictures on there.
In the grass and everything.
They're good. It's like a fatless chicken. Frog.
Oh, I don't know about those guys.
He does have fangs. That's what they tell me. What kind of species? I don't know, but it has fangs. Like the bullfrogs, though. It's funny, when you catch a bullfrog, it just goes limp. It doesn't bite you or anything. It's just, so whatever.
I'm ready to go.
They know when they've been got.
Yeah, that's it. The thing's picking me up. They're probably going to fight them.
If it's handling me like that, I'm done.
Yeah. Right.
Thinking about it. No, walking around. Yeah, I'm dying, so they come up here.
Yeah.
What about snakes?
Yeah, we have lots of snakes, yeah. A couple of venomous ones. Cottonmouth is their main one. It's a water snake. Copperhead, not so much. They're more dry, but we do get some. Lots that live in the trees. Some will climb up the trees and eat the eggs. Rat snakes. Lots of different water snakes.
Another cypress tree.
There's a lizard on this side of the tree.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That would be so
It's crazy that moss on the ground, on the water though.
This is not just the mammals using the trees, but lizards, spiders, snakes, all the creatures of the forest, well, they need somewhere to go to. That's where they'll go, in these little nooks and inside these crevices.
Not much of it left.
Crawfish trap. Unfortunately, there's nothing in here. So, see how this is completely open? So they can just swim right out. So normally they would use this in a crawfish pond. So as you guys drive around, or some of you already know, you see red PVCs just floating, just sticking out of the water in a field, in a flooded rice field. And so they would use this here because it floods and they can just get out. So normally there's a way to close this trap. And so they'll bait it with a piece of fish, and at the bottom it'll land there, and the crawfish are bottom feeders, of course, and they'll get into these funnels. You see that there? So the big way in,
Yeah.
small way for them to get back out.
Right.
So on a good day, you know, you could catch maybe up to here full.
Yeah.
It's like 10 pounds maybe one trap. And there's people who would actually, they quit their jobs part of the year, and they'll catch crawfish.
So why is it so big if they only catch up to that amount?
What's that?
Why is it so much larger than the amount that they caught?
That's a good question. So sometimes of the year this water isn't moving and it's clear and there's no oxygen. So they need a longer trap to stick up out of the water. That way the crawfish can come up to breathe. Otherwise they would die. You know, if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't build a long trap like that. They would just set like a crab trap.
Right,
You know, something like that. It just sits on the bottom. But here it won't work because it'll die.
I've
Make a
actually
pillow
seen
drop.
some of those that I didn't know what they were.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did you see any? Like they had them at
This
different spots, like along the channel. And I'm like, I mean, they look like pipes. I just didn't know what they were.
We're seeing loads of plants here. These are all invasive. They were brought here for water gardens, and now they're all over the place. This one here This is called a water hyacinth. So part of the
Yeah.
year it'll grow a purple flower. It's really pretty.
What part of the year?
Different times of the year.
Oh.
So any time, any minute now, and then it's
Oh.
warming up.
Uh-huh.
They'll probably start blooming the flowers. But they have this foam inside these little bulbs. Yeah, that's what keeps them afloat.
Oh.
So another one here. This is salvinia. You see the little seeds of it as well. This is salvinia, and all the seeds with it. That's another invasive plant brought here for water gardens.
Oh.
So all these plants we're seeing.
Are they a benefit to the water?
Not really, no, because they see how it completely clogs this up.
Yeah.
The sunlight can't penetrate the water, and eventually it'll deplete the oxygen in the water. And also you can't access these places anymore. It takes over other native plants. We used to have a little seed. It's called duckseed or duckweed.
Yeah.
We don't see that too much anymore. This plant
And there's
just
nothing you can do
takes
about it?
over. Not much we can do, no.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, these are tropical plants, so if we get a hard freeze, they'll die. Then they rot and sink to the bottom. And then you grow back the next year and just do it again.
Oh.
And it just completely just rots everything. And just drains the oxygen out of the water. Water hyacinth, the one with the bulbs, the long one there. It does provide some habitat for crawfish and fish and insects and things like that. And the crawfish, they'll eat the roots, some of the roots of the plant. But in the long run, you know, it's not beneficial.
So yeah, how do you get around it? You ain't gonna use markers and stuff, or you?
Maybe at first, try to find certain features,
Right.
and then eventually everything looks familiar.
Really?
And you just go.
I don't know.
Goes through some of this grass, you may notice little bitty frogs. Called cricket frogs. You see it until they move.
It's like the weed that's in the yard.
I know, right? Oh, there he goes. Oop, there he went. Yeah.
That's so little.
Little turtles.
What is this plant?
It's a pennywort.
Oh, okay. It is what we have
Is
in our
it?
yard. Yes,
That's where I've seen one.
in the yard. And you know why?
Right.
Because our,
Wet.
uh-huh.
Oh, there went another one.
Oh, there it is.
Did you get him?
Huh.
Here, got two.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, look, can you see that?
Holds him by his leg.
Oh my God.
It's like that.
Little baby frog.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
He's ready for the gym.
You guys want to hold it?
Not really.
So it's a cricket frog. It's about as big as they get.
You want to see back?
Did you want to hold it?
Yeah, do we want to pass him back?
Good. All right.
We saw him. Close enough. Thank you.
That one did, or that one really likes
He's a
it.
little baby.
Yeah, he's probably very
You
calm.
see him in the back?
Do they get bigger than that, or they stay
This
the
is about as big as they'll get. Yeah.
You think
Here, pass that back.
he's so cool.
Let's go by the back leg. He's gonna jump now.
Not over my head.
There you go.
Don't drop him.
How come they're so small?
That's just how big that species gets. Some of them get real big, some of them get as big as that one.
Ain't too bad, man. Just put him back in there.
Yeah, whenever you're done.
There he goes.
Traumatizing day for this.
I did not wake up with that in mind.
There's so much stuff in there.
So what?
Critters that you don't know about.
Like the trouser. Trouser. You know. People don't know about that trouser.
Hi, are you on video saying this?
I am.
Branches, careful.
Oh.
Without getting hit in the head, look at these two trees. See how they melted together?
Oh wow.
That's cool.
And so a lot of times these are cypress that melt at the base if they grow real close. And every once in a while they'll have a branch that just grows out and they merge together.
Huh.
I love that smell.
Make sure you're right, careful. Well, a beaver houseboat. They did that on purpose. You see, they built it on that log. That way it'll float.
Smart.
So they'll make a nice platform where they can stay dry, and then when they're ready to have babies, they'll make that canopy like you see in here. And on the inside, they got their little dam. They got the place in the water they can go in and escape or come in. That'll protect the babies from predators like hawks and eagles and owls. And of course, they'll make dams as well, and it's really important for this habitat because as the water goes down, they start to drain out of the swamp. They build these dams and they hold that water in there, so that leaves habitat for everything that lived there before, like fish and also these places where other things can come and feed, birds and turtles and alligators and snakes, whatever.
This is wild.
This is.
Yeah.
Couple branches, careful. Some little blue herons. Snoop on top of the grass.
So what type of trees are those we just drove?
The smaller ones?
The small,
Oh, the big ones? Cypress.
Those cypress?
Yeah, they're called cypress, yeah. See the alligator? Minnows, yeah.
Do you hunt alligator?
I don't know.
No.
There's people who do. The whole show, Swamp People, a lot of that's filmed out here.
I bet it is.
Y'all see him?
How old is that?
I don't know. He looks to be about at least 4 feet, 4.5 foot. About 5 years old.
Is he just laying across? Is his back tail towards us?
Yeah.
Yeah, his face is facing
He's kind of looking at us, though, huh?
yeah, he had
His head turned.
yeah, looking behind him.
I don't see him.
So crazy that you see on each side.
The log
Like all
right
the way
there.
over.
Right there. He's along the whole log.
So they, of course, they don't grow a foot every year they're alive. They live to be 30 to 50 years. So thank God.
Thank God.
50-foot alligators. Imagine it's about 20 foot, 1 foot long.
God.
Imagine alligator bigger than this. But their growth will start slowing down as they get older. Just when they're young, they, on average, they grow about a foot. Cypress swamp. And they switched out on cypress mulch. And so they started around the year 2000. And when they were clearing these areas, they weren't getting permits. And unfortunately, we have a severe lack of enforcement of our environmental laws here in Louisiana. And nothing was being done to stop it until a non-profit organization found out what was going on. And we followed these trucks coming from these areas, and they're bringing them to the mulching plant. And on the bags, they would say environmentally harvested, and they have a Florida address on it. And you know, obviously, it was coming out of here. And when you cut down these trees, these cypress swamps, they won't grow back. These are 100-year-old trees that grew in a time where the hydrology was completely different then. They had a longer time to grow tall enough to survive these high waters. Today, I mean, they have to grow 13 foot in a matter of 2 or 3 months if we have a dry season that year. And so it's just, what we have now is just what we'll have forever as long as we leave it. And so the organization that was able to stop it is called the Chapalai Basin Keeper. Dean, he's the owner of this company. he's my dad. He's also the director of that organization, and we were able to stop the illegal logging going on here in coastal Louisiana. But they're continuously trying to start back up, and you know, there's other threats as well. They're trying to fill up swamps and develop them and that sort of thing, and it's a constant fight and constant threat here in the basin.
Did they just stop the illegal logging, or did
In
anybody go to jail?
Yeah, in 2011, I think it was the last one. I think there was one or two left, but it wasn't. I don't think it was in operation, and then that was it.
It's a big area to try to keep up with.
Yeah, it is. So it's an organization that consists of like, I guess like 1,500 members or so, and so it's a lot of word of mouth. Do flyovers and watch over the basin in that way.
Right.
And that's probably the best way to monitor. Every now and then we do monitor flights.
Is this one of the biggest areas for cypress trees?
Is it what?
And is this like one of the biggest areas?
It's one of
in
the biggest, yes.
Country for cypress.
As far as forested wetlands, it's the largest in North America. Contiguous forested wetland, yeah.
You could just use a drone for it.
People love their cypress
All the way up there.
I'd like to get a great picture of the turtle. That one turtle.
Well, maybe you'll see one.
It's like oil and gas. Really like frogs.
Yep. Especially over there.
So little cricket frogs that we were catching earlier.
They're loud.
Yeah, they are.
Nothing to worry about.
There's probably a trillion of them in there too.
He picks you up by your leg.